Going live now.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. I am Parker LaVitte, and I wrote the Lightning War saga, and you are watching the Owlite Network.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Steve Van Sampson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smith.
Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thank Cthulhu, it's Sunday. Welcome to another episode of The Clutch of Personalities. And tonight we have Parker LaVitte with us. He's the author of The Lightning War. Episode 1 right now is Grounding Unit. And it is an amazing book. I just finished reading it today. I was like going through, I thought I would speed read through it. And he's like, no, I'm going to make this over 500 pages. And I was like, okay. And then I was just like, I can't put this down. I had to go to sleep last night finally, but then I wake up and I'm just like, okay, I'm back. And absolutely amazing. Ratatosker liked it too. He's not even drinking tonight. He's like just so, he doesn't know what to do. So got me and Friday here. And Parker, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Getting back into this whole writing thing. I was just out of the country for 10 days, but I'm back, and I, wrote looking at the Swedish countryside, working on the second book, and I'm back to, keep working on, getting the word out about this first one so people want to pick up the second. Yes. Hello.
Oh yeah. Love this first one. You have created an amazing world. This book, guys, it's we don't want to feed out too many spoilers, but it involves a lot of different powers, kinesis. Is there a plural for that? Kinesi?
Forms of psychokinesis is what I would call it. Like everything is psychokinesis, but there's 9 forms that humans can use. Emphasis on humans.
Mm-hmm. And so we get to go through this. There's war stuff going on. There's soldiers and training, and you get to deal with the teenagers, and you see the adults. And I'm blown away because there's all of these different family aspects, and the main character that we're mostly seeing things through is someone who I can really relate to, because it's somebody who goes through and they don't want to put emphasis on they don't want to put any emphasis on themselves. They try to hide back, and they're just like, I'm kind of a loser, so I don't want to accept any praise. A bit of imposter syndrome topped with just trying to fit in. They've learned to if you just make everybody else feel better and praise what this person does, then you don't have to, you don't get focused on, you don't get made fun of or anything. You get to blend into the background. And having to go through being a person who okay, I actually have to work now. I have to do things, is just really great. You got into the characters' heads so well, and you wrote so many strong characters.
I need to reset.
What? Sorry.
I think not sure what's going on there. Hey, Stefan. But I guess I should start off. What inspired you to write this particular book? It said I heard that you started when you were young. So how long has this been building until you've come out with it?
This was, believe it or not, a NaNoWriMo project when I was a sophomore in high school. So, and I'm, elderly now. I turned 30 back in June. So, it's been a long time coming. And a lot of it was also just like, I did like the fantasy genre. But like also my father was like really big into history growing up. Like, he would grow up reading, war stories and watching war movies. And, when he had a son, I got raised with that. Like, hell, he probably let me watch Saving Private Ryan when I was like 13. So like it was kind of something I was always raised around. And like in 2022, we all went to France and Dad and I checked out the beaches in Normandy. So like, this has kind of always been a genre that was, kind of near and dear to both of us. And, something I also really, resonated with the whole, like, I'm an engineer, I'm into problem solving. And so it's a different kind of problem solving. And I think that just combined with my interest in, the unknown, it was just so many, totally unrelated life experiences that somehow rolled themselves into something perfectly.
Yeah. Sounds intriguing. It is a very intriguing read. And yes, we will all make fun of you if you continue to call yourself old, because you don't even want to know, some of us. There's so beyond like the different kinesis and the psychokinetic abilities, and getting to see all these younger people coming through with stuff, there's a bit of there's a secret branch of the military that they become a part of, and it's a lot of younger people involved in it, because this is when powers are, first emerging and people are being trained and learning stuff. We also get to have in a bit of conspiracy, superstitious kind of thing. There's Illuminati involved, and so that gets really fun going into how that works. And one of the things that I really, really appreciated about this book, I mean, it's got all this excitement, it's got adventure, it's got training, it's got people bonding and learning and working on growing up and discussions with parents. But some of the aspects in it that I've seen people attempt to do and end up just kind of rubbing our faces in it is, and we were talking about this before the show, is something that you made completely natural in the story. There are characters in this story that are not just heterosexual, but it's not thrown in your face. There are people in this story who are neurodivergent, but they just are, and it's not something that goes repeated over and over and over. If there's a purpose for it, it's brought up, such as maybe how things work with the way their brains are wired and how they can end up using the powers and stuff that they have. But other than that, it's not something that like is, and it's something that I've noticed, like I said, before the show, so many people make it like, okay, this is going to be a big focus of my story, is to bring this awareness about. And with you, it's not even like bring about awareness. It's just, that's how people are. There are a lot of people who all have different ways of life, and they're in these stories and they're just existing. They aren't trying to shove anything in anybody's face. And I love that you wrote it that way. And how natural was it for you to be able to put it in that way?
That's a very good question. How natural was it? And I'll have you know, like, just one thing I do when I write, every character you've just met is a self-insert in some facet, not just like the good guys, also the bad guys. Like, everyone kind of does share something with my own personality. And so, and not necessarily, whatever their, disability or sexual orientation or race might be, because like that, obviously like, so I could address that, but I couldn't, like, tell a story about, like, being black or something, because I'm not. So like that's like it shows up there. It's represented. I would make sure I'm reading up and doing my homework to make sure it's well done. But like that's not the representation story I am telling. The ones that I would stay a bit closer to home and actually spend time on were Dale is asexual. I happen to be as well. Kiki has ADHD, so do I. So like if it was something, the more it is something that I experience, I'm more likely to take it on and be the one to be the voice and portray it as such, because I should be in the driver's seat as someone who experiences it myself.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I think like the best source you're going to have for just any kind of advocacy are the people who experience that firsthand.
Yeah, and like I said, it never felt like anything was forced there, and it gives people, I think, an easy way to relate to a character, because you're seeing them think everything that anybody else would think, as well, or behave in the same way as anybody else would, rather than throwing anything forward on stuff. So it really, to me, is a great book in that way. As from my generation, Gen Xers, and there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I hate things that are woke," and it's like, well, that's not necessarily my generation saying that, but there's a lot of that on the internet these days. And this book is woke, but it's not like, I am woke book, like the punch in the face sort of thing. And I hate to say it that way, because I don't think that people should not write books that are, trying to explain views to people. But this one, like I said, it just all falls in place naturally. And we were talking before the show too about there's some religious stuff involved, but we don't go and hang out and talk a bunch about religion. There's just, girl comes from a family that's very religious. Her father, he was a reverend, or I believe
pastor, Southern Baptist pastor.
Yeah, and it exists, and she has some things that in her behavior that come through with that, but it's not like, and that all goes back because daddy was a pastor. It's like, no, it's just, that's one aspect of her personality, and it comes out when she's talking to some other people who are discussing beliefs at some point in time. But it does, all of those things are things that push the plot. They aren't there just to be discussed for the sake of them existing,
Yeah.
And
the other thing.
No, please go ahead. I was just going to start on something else, so I want you to finish up where we were. Yeah.
And the other thing with the whole theme of Alina's upbringing and her like religious family, and having to leave the religion and deconstruct that and go out in the world, is it at the heart of it. It is a story about fighting a shadowy cult that is trying to force their beliefs and like their version of what is theologically correct on everyone else. So I mean, like you said, if you're gonna call it a woke book, then I'm not offended by it, because like it is woke. Like if I did look at like conservative Christianity or like Islamic terrorism and stuff when I was writing my own form of the Illuminati, and at the heart it kind of is breaking that down and showing that if like we, in a world where a corrupt religious organization is trying to take over everything, this is what it would look like. And unfortunately it does kind of resemble what is in our society at times.
Yeah. Jody's got something to say here. Del, I was going to say, sounds like such a relatable read, especially me being neurodivergent myself. And I love that Parker only writes from what his experiences and what he connects with and to.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And the other thing I enjoyed, when you have the different, I'm just going to say the soldiers who come in and they go through training with each other, but they each have different skill sets. And some of them have more skill set, like they teach them in some basic combat and then whatever their particular powers are. But they also find the people who have internal skill sets such as leadership tendencies or logic tendencies, engineering abilities, things like that, so that it emphasizes that people don't just have to be, you don't judge a fish on how it climbs a tree kind of thing.
Exactly.
Everybody has different kind of things that they can contribute with, and this person might not be strong in these areas, but when you combine them with these other people, they make a perfect team.
Exactly.
And as long as they're all willing to work together, they can get through it. And I just loved that. It's a lot of military, you see them just tearing people down and breaking them down. And this, it's, with younger people, and they're like, okay, some of you have to learn a couple of hard lessons, but they don't try to break everyone and rebuild them. They try to take them from where they start at and get them to accept what they can do and to get better at it and to do it. And there are some uncomfortable situations they get put in, like they're fighting and they're causing harm to people, and it really messes with them. It's not just something where they're like, oh yeah, went out and killed some people, no big deal. It's like, no, I have to deal with this. And you said that your father, you watched a lot of war movies and stuff. So is that where some of, like, knowing just like what the PTSD sort of situation is going to be as well with? Did you learn that from him, or is that something you researched, or?
It's something I researched. I personally do not have PTSD, but I have friends who do, and I have like spoken to them about it. I was also seeing it portrayed in other media that does portray it well. That being said, I'm glad you asked. You know Patty, my publisher.
Yeah.
I think we're all, okay. One note I got
Yeah.
from Patty upon reading my first draft was, like, do you have PTSD? Because you portrayed it very well. And I'm like, I don't. So I'm flattered you think that.
Yeah, I do. And you did a fabulous job with relaying that and how it seeps into the psyche, and you get stuck in a rotation of it sometimes. And then it's just like, I don't know how to get through it. And it is hard to deal with, but the way that you portrayed it, as we all know, Patty.
Yes.
Yeah, she's all for our
Hey, Patty.
publisher.
But I was going to build off of that. And Friday, I'm going to see if you have some questions. Hop in. I got to rebuild in my mind the question that I had.
First, I wanted to say I loved how, like, certain aspects they could joke with each other about like during the weapons training, and they were talking, and Alina was yelling smack at Dell, and he's like, "Shh, God is listening," and stuff like that. But the thing I loved is you thought of a way for them to understand they have an asset. They see the asset in Kiki and what she can do, even if the people who are testing her doesn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
And how that can be used to teach and for others to learn with. How did you come up with the way to use it in the way you have in the book to teach? Well, for them to realize they should use it to teach.
Honestly, that was, again, with my own experience being neurodivergent, I had to go through the American public school system, which we all know is not neurodivergent friendly. You sit there, you take notes, it doesn't work. And like, I've had to go through life, having to use that kind of as secondary education and learn everything, firsthand, hands-on, actually, doing the skill that I'm going to be needing. And I figured that's kind of where it could be, like, maybe someone whose abilities don't work exactly in that way could be used, to teach, and also to, take, that, because like most, without spoiling too much, like, no one has abilities like Kiki's, like, as far as we've seen right now, like, that's like, it's totally new. And so, like, if this person can do it, maybe someone else can do it, or maybe it can be, maybe it can be, applied differently.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
The whole
use this is. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say the whole entire agency is used to help people think outside the box of how to use their abilities.
Mhm.
And I love how that in ways is neurodivergent, but there's even different ways to use it. And which one was your favorite? Would be your favorite skill to learn to use in your daily life?
With my trying to think. I honestly because I'm just thinking like in terms of combat, like like they're not all created equal. Like I would probably say telekinesis, hydrokinesis, and electrokinesis are like the OP ones. But like if I'm just like like myself, I'm like going to work. I'd probably say telekinesis just because of my line of work. If I need a tool, I can just boop. Don't have to reach across to get it.
That would rock.
I like how you mentioned that they are OP, but none of them are too OP. There's there's even specifically in there like this person cannot kill on a single shot. It just doesn't happen. That you can't just have like, oh, so and so is going to go in and save the day because of their one special power and they're just the best at it. It's like even the best at it can't do this, and so it makes people work on teams. And the relationships between the people, there are relatives, there are friends, there is one kind of romantic relationship going on, and they're all things where the main character is kind of a bit shy, and so people are bringing him out of his shell a bit. And we see people and how they observe from the outside the other relationships that are going on, like, oh wow, this person's being a real jerk, or hey, you got to leave these people alone. These guys have their own thing. They live their own way. Don't get in their face about stuff. Just back off, be calm, everybody get along, and then with a group with that much stress going on, there's going to be a lot of that happening where people just are going to rub up against each other the wrong way. But they also do a very good job, the commanders, in realizing like this is a very highly volatile situation that we are in. If any of these people lose it, this can cause a lot of damage, and we have to maintain teamwork and team ideals and things. And it's very hard to do that with teenagers, I think, and younger adults. But you mastered it. You got them down to the right level of discipline and not trying to and explaining things, I think, also, because like I'm going to use Harry Potter as an example just because people are familiar with this, and this is not a Harry Potter level book, but like in that series, it was like the adults never tell the kids anything, and those are younger kids and stuff. But in this one, they do, because they're like, if you don't know this, if you don't know why you're doing this and why we do it this way and not this way, why it sucks if somebody has to die, but that might happen, but we don't celebrate it when they do, it. And that was something I think that was very important that you brought about. And I'm assuming that was on purpose to show that the people who are like, yeah, we killed somebody is like bad,
No, it's definitely.
I'm not phrasing it so much as a question, but
and unfortunately there were stories I saw about like the conduct of like the American military overseas and like how they like desecrated insurgent corpses and stuff, and it's horrible stuff. And that was kind of the inspiration there. Like I know people like you might pick this up and think like, oh no, like our boys wouldn't act like that, and I'm like, no, like I've seen enough to indicate that they do, and it's a problem and it needs addressed.
Yeah, it's not just the other folks. Everybody's side has done it at some point, and you have to try to instill in people that no, you don't do that. Got a couple things from Jody here real quick. Wow, me too. I see you can do my own research and learn better than I ever did in the school system. My superpower is empathy. Yes, both blessings and curse. And Parker, what helped you decide which character carried which powers?
That is a very good question. Some of it I thought, just because this magic system's undergone a few iterations before it turned into what it is, and I love what I created. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I think I made the right choices, and honestly depended on in addition to their personality, like how could that translate onto the battlefield, and what if someone has what abilities would sync up with this person's, and maybe what wouldn't. I mean, like if you look at Alina, like she's more like an empathetic, kind, talk it out type, and yet like she's a telekinetic with an axe. Like that's very, counterintuitive to how she would normally solve a problem. So like that was interesting. Or like Dale with his shyness, hydrokinesis, like he's literally going with the flow.
Oh, and I loved how he discovered his powers. You have to read it to find out. Jenny had another question.
Yes.
Okay, I am a big Avatar fan, and yes, I'm gonna have to reread this book again, like as many times as I've read that. Almost as many times as I've watched it. My question is, will there be more characters with multiple abilities? Like 2 or more? Or are you just going to have everybody have one ability?
That's a very good question, and someone did bring this up. Everyone only has one single ability, like one type of energy they can manipulate. However, you will see, you have your psychokinesis, and also, there are perceptive abilities, safe cracking, remote viewing. And so, you can have something in addition to, but, your psychokinesis is really only one. However, minor spoiler alert, in the second book, you will see that there are people who have, abilities beyond the 9 that you've seen, and there will be more types that are introduced.
Yay.
Awesome. So when they're taking on in this book, the main it was kind of like the Masons were a big target that was that they were going on against, and Baphomet is featured in the book, guys. Baphomet.
Yes.
But Baphomet. But are you going to be keeping with the same? Because I mean, you cut off the head. A lot of these organizations are just like hydras. They just keep spreading up. You might get one side of something, but are you going to be keeping with similar antagonistic groups?
The series antagonist is the Illuminati, being, the Freemasons, the Bohemian Conference, and their supreme architect. And again, minor spoiler, I think we've all gotten to the end, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. End of the book, there is a new supreme architect. I'm not going to say who it is. However, I'll let you know this individual is probably way worse than Baphomet. And it's kind of insulting to compare the two, because one is a cool pop culture icon, the other is just a dick.
Yeah, and I do love the way you portrayed Baphomet, and how I don't want to do spoilers, but being basically an alien kind of creature to it, you have these planes and stuff, and creatures are able to go from different planes, but when you do so, you aren't native to that plane, so you're kind of just like, I got to figure out what I'm doing here. I have to figure out how I get around, what I do, what the hell is going on. Oh shit, and things like that are happening. I'm not sure if I'm losing internet or not. Sounds like my ex-husband.
Sorry.
Which one, Baphomet or the dick? Don't answer that.
Both, unfortunately.
Sorry.
But anyway.
Yes, and you will see more like astral originating like beings in the further books. However, they're not the series antagonist. They're like think kind of like a 300 angle moving forward. How like they have like it's mostly people fighting, but they have access to like monsters and stuff too.
Okay, so they're used kind of as a maybe another form of power, like they can bring something to, or they have connection with something. There are so many things I want to say, and I can't because there's spoilers because this book is so good. But yeah, using mysticism combined with the paranormal powers and having the extraplanar creatures and stuff involved just makes this book have so much depth. And it's something that I did not know I was missing it until I was reading it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this all fits together so well. You went with the flow, like with the water, and just were able to pull everything together so that it was an exciting book to read. It was, I liked, like I said, I've mentioned all the relationships and stuff because I'm trying not to give out spoilers for the main plot stuff, but it's just all the different ways that things merge into one, and the action is great. The way that all the military scenarios and stuff are played out, and the setting up for battles and the arrangements of things are just so spectacular, guys. The amount of research that you had to have put into this to get everything lined up, get your ducks in a row for it, just had to be insane. Like,
a lot of time in the conspiracy part of YouTube at 3 a.m. when I was a teenager.
I had never heard of the Bohemian ones before. That was a new one for me.
It is a real thing, and you can, but like it does exist. Like they do have a real like encampment in California, which will play a role in a later book.
Okay.
So my next question is, I'm breaking in here. I do have a question I really want to ask.
Yes.
When it comes to all the people that are over them, all the ones that have been teaching them, which one of them did you actually, as you're going through writing, did you want to sit down and have a talk with and learn from them?
I'm going to be honest. I everyone who's read this book is going to give this answer. Like, that was a very easy question. I want to grab a beer with Colonel Harrison just because I know he would have some wild stories. Like the man is America's dad, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but I want to meet Blade.
Blake's fun. No, he'd be fun to hang out with.
Okay. Oh. And completely off topic, Parker, is that a photo printer in the background?
Yes, it is.
There you go, Stefan.
And it probably has a paper jam right now because it's a printer, and that's what they do.
They do. That is what they are good at. So, do you have anything else? I know you're working on the follow-up to this and this whole series. Is there anything else that you have that you've been working on lately? Do you do any short stories on the side or have any other projects that you're kind of fleshing out? Or are we just, keep focusing on the series. I don't want you to like George R.R. Martin off and to nowhere, because that would make me sad. I love the man, but you know.
No, you are going to get all 4 Lightning War books. There are 4. That's a spoiler. 4.
Okay.
I'm actually like primarily. Sorry, what's that?
The fact that there's 4 brings joy, not spoilers.
Yeah. So there are. What was I saying? I'm primarily a content creator. Like I run, like I do like travel content on social media. So like, and I just got back from a very, large trip to Europe. So like that consumed my entire weekend, just editing photos and writing my blog. And that was a whole thing. And I do that under a totally different name. However, just being like traveling around did make me want to write like a story like set in Sweden or set in Denmark. So like I might, taper off and do just a short story here in the future just to scratch that itch.
Gotcha.
That would be so much fun.
Yes.
I'll have to read some of your travel logs.
I'll send you here after.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What place
Let me think.
are you looking forward to adding in the books that they're going to be in next?
In the next book, you're going to see the other bases. There's going to be one other base that you see, and they're going to visit a lot more of them. There are, I believe, 9 or 10 USPCIF bases. I've changed it a few times. I don't remember what the number ended up being, and it's not relevant yet. Hello, Jen. But yes, there are 10, so you're going to get to see the different ones. And I think this might have been touched on in the first book, but they each serve a different function. Like Carolina's guys, like they're primarily, like wooded guerrilla combat versus like Alabama. That's all, like out in the open, old school, battle formations and the like, or like the main base that focuses on naval ops. And they're not all nice. Like in the second book, you're going to meet kind of my fantasy race, and like the way these people are treated in Alabama is absolutely horrible. So like I'm excited to explore that, and also in the second book they're at war with a neighboring nation. I'm not going to give spoilers out to which country we're fighting, but it does turn into an international conflict. And you will get to see this country invaded. And it happens to be one of my favorite ones I've ever traveled to. So I'm really excited to, take the fighting there.
I'm excited to finally see Bama. I'm from Bama, and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see this one. Now I'm not so sure.
I was wondering, are we going to get more interaction between the parents at some point? Because it going from like, oh, we're going off to this special school because they're obviously acting, the parents don't understand what's going on with their kids exactly. So I didn't know if there was going to be any changes in how that works in the future, or
the parents.
I mean, if it's spoiler.
That is a bit of a spoiler. However, the parents are relevant again in the third book. And like, honestly, if you were Dale and like you had the parents he has, like, would it mean that much to you to be in contact with them? Like, I'm not saying like they're not horrible people, and like it's mentioned that they do write home a few times, but it's not a big deal to him. I mean,
I can understand why with his parents, especially his mom.
Yeah, the dad is cool, the mom not so much. But like he's after all whole life of living with with this crap, like he's like, pardon my French, but he's finally somewhere where he's trusted to wash his own ass. So like he's not going to want to look back.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
Sounds like an American soil multiverse.
Kinda, yeah. You could put it that way.
Every area has their thing, and you kept up too with a lot of the current tech, I believe, that we have going on. It was interesting to me because there's like how they're secreted away, but they have access to all the latest in military technology and things, and which of course they would because they're part of the military. But yeah, how did you come up with what adjustments? How did you decide, I guess, because it's based on how you wanted it to work, what things would work and what wouldn't, as far as when confronted with a power, people are able, like, depending on the power, different things kind of keep you from being able to do anything. You can't use them because if this person gets in front of them, they can make them backfire on you, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's actually a very good question. Like, I guess one thing I did is I wanted to make sure that every ability had something that could counter it. Like, electrokinesis, like I can't have you just, you can't just, think it up, fire a bolt of lightning at someone and kill someone. Like it wouldn't work that way. And So like you'll see, and like I know you mentioned Avatar, like I feel like these abilities are a bit nerfed from something like that, or Full Metal Alchemist. So like it is a very effective weapon, but it's not alone enough to kill someone. You need to be smart and strategic and figure out how to use that. Or like, hydrokinesis, like that's, there's not a lot of limits as to, what that can do and what it can reach. So the counter to that is, electrokinesis can be used to, send a bolt of, lightning, back, use the water as a wire and hit the user. Or, telekinesis, you can't lift anything too heavy. So like there needed to be limits in place, and I kind of did it to balance everything out. And to be honest, some of those abilities also just suck.
Well, but you're able to. I like the way you had them work against military items. Like guns become pretty ineffective when you have somebody that can make things explode.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because you were asking, like, someone asked earlier, like, how did you pick each character's abilities? I figured, like, Blake went through a few, like, iterations of what he could do. I ended up going with pyrokinesis because he's, like, very smart and mechanical, and, like, you'll see him, like, that can be used to metalwork in a jiffy. I figured that would be an interesting ability for him. And also, that ability is the reason why guns don't work. So I wanted that in, the hands of someone who was mechanically minded and, wouldn't have to, do too much learning, and would be able to, like this, it would make sense for him to be able to just take one look at a gun, use his pyrokinesis, and just blow it to smithereens. And I wanted anti-ballistics capabilities with this party because I didn't want it to be another war novel full of guns.
Yeah,
I like that a whole lot. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And the different weapons they use. The fact that they all get to choose different weapons. And they got to adjust it, and stuff happens because they can adjust it.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And again, that's why you have people who, their job is to, keep these weapons in working order and modify them and keep improving on the technology. Because a lot of these are like, like medieval Renaissance era weaponry. Because again, gunpowder doesn't work. So that's, next best thing. But it's being made with modern technology. So like, and again, I work in machining in real life. So that was kind of some, can of worms I could open, get into that.
Yeah, I believe you use carbon fibers, didn't you, in some of the weapons?
Carbon fiber. Yeah, no, there's like the shaft for Kiki's glaive is made out of carbon fiber, and it's like a tent pole, so she can just fold it up and whip it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want a glaive.
Flexible, so you don't normally see a glaive that can, like flex and bend.
Yeah, I loved that addition to stuff. It's just those little tweaks that you put in there. You got the engineering mind going on.
Thank you.
Because
the weapons know how.
What's that?
And I like how you learned how all the weapons work and how they can use them with their ability.
Yes.
And what type of liquid could work, or what type of electricity or whatever.
Yeah, no, that was something else I thought of, like with Dale's hydrokinesis. I mean, like, yeah, like it can be water, but like, like I said, this ain't Avatar. It doesn't have to be water. Anything liquid works for him. So, hydraulic fluid, that's going to hit harder, or, they're on a mission where there's going to be a lot of fire involved. Maybe machining coolant could cool something down. Or just being petty and spilling his dad's sweet tea.
And I also really enjoyed your healers. I'm the person who, when I'm playing a video game, I always end up having to play somebody who is at least a partial healer because I don't trust anybody else. And when I was reading about how you have the people who can focus on it, it's not so much like, oh, I cast a magic spell and heal, but the ability to like advance the cell structures and stuff so that they're starting to repair themselves faster. And it's something that it's not an instant cure. It's not here's a potion and you're better. Here's one quick spell and you're better. but it does, you can help stabilize, you can help do a lot of things and get training on that. And that was something, I don't think I've ever seen that before used in a story.
Yes, I'm glad
Any ability like that wasn't magic, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, because in one of the future books, that novel's antagonist might be the most despicable, punchable character in the franchise, and he's actually a healer and does horrible things with it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yep. So you'll get to see that down the road.
Oh, when healers go bad, that's always so much fun. I'm looking forward to that now, because healers are they are often overlooked, and it's people don't think like of the bad side always of, oh, and I can keep you alive and keep doing things. I don't know if you're going in that direction or not, but it's like, yeah, guess what? I'm gonna keep you going, whether you want to be or not. So there you go.
Yeah, I messed up enough that like if I didn't already do it, you're giving me ideas. So just
I'll give you a little couple notes on the side here. You know, oh, this is what I do with things. Gotta read this book, Shadow of the Torturer. It's great. Actually, it is a really good book. But we're gonna hop off here real quick, and I'm gonna get us our video clips up here for a second. We gotta pay our bills and run our ads. And folks out there, get ready to put some stuff in the comments. Ask any questions that you have. And we're gonna he's gonna do a reading for us. It's gonna be awesome. But stay tuned. First of all, a word from our sponsors.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sitting through our quick break there. I just thought of something.
Yes.
Bam, is that going? No.
Yeah, what?
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Forgot to add that at the beginning of the show. Okay. If you would like to get a hold of this book, you can get it by following that little link down there from all the different places that you could possibly want to buy it. So, and also, if you are watching the show, we will do a giveaway tool at the end. I will be giving away an e-copy of your choice. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, please contact the show if you're the winner to let us know how to reach you, because I can't just go look up you on YouTube and always have your account show up and be able to reach you. I've discovered this, unfortunately, during our last show, where we were totally unable to get a hold of the person who won the book because they had made a mention of something and then I could not find their channel or their user thing at all because they had it on private. So now you know. But yes, if you are not the lucky winner, write that down so that you can go and find your own copy. So I don't have any more questions over here in the comments so far. Friday, did you have anything more that you wanted to ask before we go into the reading?
The practical uses, how you thought about the practicality of what they can do, like how hydrokinesis can can clean things, or how Kiki's special abilities can do what it does. How did you well, it's obvious that even moms would think, ooh, I can use that for this, and you did. How did you think of how the practicalities of base chores work?
I'm so glad you asked that. And I know we were talking a bit earlier about how, like, writing teenagers, like, at the end of the day, their brains aren't developed. They are still kind of stupid. Like, a lot of that stemmed from, okay, like these two, teenagers with, like overbearing parents, they're out in the woods alone. They discover they have some kind of magical powers. Like, realistically, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to fuck around. Pardon my French, but that's what they're going to do. So like, that's like, because of who, the age group I was writing, like, that's where a lot of it came from. It wasn't, practical use, it's fun use. Like, what's going to be fun and enjoyable and mischievous that they can do. And then, as people mature, then you will see it used practically for, whatever reasons. But a lot of it was more so like non-combative psychic ability usage you see is to be, is being a derelict.
And
I love it.
I do like the passive perceptive powers and how they use them to encourage each other. Don't sit there and not ask a question that's important because you're shy or you don't think your value is up there. Go ahead and you do have a reason to ask these things, that you have a right to. You should do it, and you use those powers for more than just the combative things that they're more than just remote vision and stuff like that. The characters take it upon themselves to use them in a way that benefits everybody in the group.
Yeah, and that's another reason why like passive abilities work well with someone like Kiki, because again, like, she's a bit of a firecracker, very impulsive, does not hold back, and so like this is someone who like whatever's on her mind just comes out. Like, it doesn't stay on her mind, like, it's out in the open. So like, having a character like that see someone holding something in like that, that's going to bother them because that's not how they act. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I loved what you did with that. You covered all sorts of bases with everything that you did, so that nothing was just a one-sided ability. There, and even the guy who even the major, not the major antagonist, but the real dick in this world, even he has kind of a sympathetic story or something. Like but they also, so we get some superhero backstory? Fuck that. No matter where you came up from, you have to learn you can't just make that be your excuse to be a dick, you have to learn how to live with it.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. I assume you're referring to Bernard here. I believe so. Like 90% sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wanted to create a character that like his bad behavior was, like believable. Like it's explained, it's understood why he's like this, but it doesn't excuse it at all. Like nobody's going to have sympathy for this character, and they shouldn't.
Oh yeah. No, he's just a dick, but he's Jodie's ex-husband, man. I don't know. I'm gonna get sued now. But that was a joke. I don't know you, ex-husband. I can't really weigh in there.
No,
it was just.
I'm allowed.
Oh, okay. All right.
But anyway, back to the book.
Anyway, yes. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover that we might have missed?
Anything else that I wanted to cover? No, I think that was a really good look at what I wrote and the themes and world I built, and I thank you for taking the time to do so.
All right. In that case, let me pull you up. Would you be ready to do a reading?
Yes, I will. Do you want me to just jump in? I guess I've never done this before.
Yeah,
wherever you
pick out.
Start for us.
All right, so here's the copy. By the way, that's the cover. Patty designed it. It looks wonderful. It's about this thick, and marked here from page 279. Okay. Voices could be heard around the corner from our door. I peered around and saw a simple door at the front of the temple swing open, presumably to a basement level. Around the corner came 5 militiamen, 2 of them with AR-15s. Unlike the guy standing around the fountain, these militiamen wore black combat boots and pants with black hooded tunics on top, the silky material rippling in the low light. "Get out of here," I shouted to my friends without hesitation. We backed away, our weapons drawn. The side door flipped open as an orange prick of light followed a bang in his hand. Pop, pop, pop. He squeezed the trigger a third time, but this time the small flash of a flame was a full-blown explosion. Blake charged forward with a sword as the insurgent fell in a fiery blast of shrapnel that remained of his gun, plunging a short sword into his neck before the other man left the door. "It's time, Dale," I told myself. I imagined a river of hydraulic fluid gushing out of that tiny nozzle and released the thought, the recoil instantly pushing my trunk off center. A syrupy, oily stream of amber fluid flew through the air at the man next to the step. The next man to step out, my mind imagining him being 5 feet behind so as to blast through him. The power of my hit flung him into the Bohemian enforcer behind him, a sharp cry of agony coming from one of them as if they'd fallen on something sharp. The other 2 men continued out through the front of the temple towards the chaotic scene I could half view out from the corner. The rubidium explosion in the fountain had left a smoky fog of war over the small battlefield. The sounds and flashes of electricity and fire in the air, accompanied by profane and agonized screams at the tops of lungs.
Bravo. Yes, that's just a little taste of seeing some of the powers being used in action. And this is a story that the action sequences all play really well. They all go out and I've read stuff before and I've edited stuff before where there are battle scenes and stuff, and you go through and you're like, that's not right. This, but they play out, nobody goes missing and then suddenly shows back up again or something, which you'd be surprised how often that occurs, honestly.
It happened in editing, trust me.
But It's beautiful. I'm like gushing and squeeing over here is my problem. I'm like trying to put together questions and I'm like, but instead they turn into these long statements of me describing the book instead of asking you how you got it to that point. But it's a very good fast pace when you get into everything going on. And that's why I'm going to say, guys, that's a thick book, but damn, I got through it in 2 days. So yes,
You wouldn't
you
be the
want to
first
own
one.
it.
Actually, I have a buddy, I believe he read like half of it on a flight, like just one single flight.
Yeah, I had to go to bed last night because I had a show at noon today. So otherwise I would have probably finished it last night. But I was just like, must be ready for other show. Okay, get some rest so that I can be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But yeah, what we're gonna do now is hop over, and I'm gonna. Oh, I gotta get my share screen on. Share screen. We are going to do the giveaway. And like I said, if you are watching and I do not personally know you, let us know who you are and how to get a hold of you. Here we go. Am I up there, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
We can see it.
Okay. We are going to draw here. And Jody. Okay, Jody, I know how to get a hold of you. And you've been begging for the books. So Jody, you are the winner.
Yay.
I will get that sent to you tonight. And you will finally get to read it after we've all been talking about it. And you've been like, I want to read it.
Please enjoy. Seriously.
She will.
So, oh, yes. Jody is going to love this. So what we're going to do now is really quickly wrap up. Parker, where would you like people to reach out to you? And do you have any events coming up? Anything you're doing?
I don't have any events. I would love to do more interviews like this. That's a matter of just finding the opportunity. However, you can find the book at the page for the Lightning War Saga on Facebook, and I believe you have the link, so you can put that up here if you'd like. And that's kind of like that's going to be the hub for the franchise, like not just the first book, but the 3 that will follow it as well.
Okay. And then I'm gonna get us out of here real quick. If you want to reach me, because I always let her go last because she has the longest list of things to do. Look up Carrie Sanders, KARI SANDERS on Facebook. And if you see this, that is me. I am judging you. Yes, I do that. And that gets you to my author page, my Owlite stuff. I'm also on Splash Pages every Tuesday. Tomorrow on Owlite, we are going to be watching Manos, Hands of Fate on Tomb of the Terrible. I'm feeling kind of bad about that right now. But on Tuesday, I will be with Keith Champagne with the Splash Pages guys. We're going to have him back. He has a Kickstarter going off. And I think that's pretty much all you need to know about me right now. If you get a hold of most of my other social media sites, you'll be speaking with Friday because she pretends to be me better than I do. And Friday, where would you like people to get a hold of you?
Of course, on Dell's pages, on my page, Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And there's like 19 in all, so I'm not going to list them all. My author page is Jennifer Elliott. You can find me on Faycore. And of course, always, I am here on the Owlite Network because Owlite Network and Faycore are my life, along with those 3 gremlins out there. And those gremlins are why it took me so long to read the book, a week and a half.
Oh, wow. That would have driven me crazy. Yeah, I would have been like, I gotta finish it.
He has radar.
I gave up.
Hey, all I'm going to say is, like, last week I was drinking fika at a zoo full of children and very strong Swedish coffee. So, like, I get it. Like, I don't have kids myself, but I've seen what it does, and I have so much respect for y'all because you're doing something that I could never do.
Oh, by the way, no, to anybody out there, I'm not saying you have to have gremlins. It is your choice not to. They're my choice. But I hope one of your choices is to read their stuff. And hopefully mine.
Yes.
We all appreciate it. So, everybody,
Sorry.
I don't know. She may have. If she has, I can do the thing. I think she's saying good night, everybody. And we shall see you later. Thank you for coming.
All right.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, hello. Whoa. Oh, hi. There's
there's 3 of me.
I've been crowed.
Get there. Oh my goodness. I was hoping to get off before before my internet did that to me. But it was like, no, you just said you got it fixed, so I must prove you wrong on 2 shows in a row tonight. So, all right. For those of you who stayed with us, thank you very much. Jody, I will be getting a book out to you as soon as the show is over. And for the rest of you, look down below, copy that, write it down, screenshot it, something like that. Go ahead and get a hold of this book. You are going to love it. It is absolutely amazing. And thank you all for coming, and we will see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Night.